Hi, I'm Cody.
And I'm Jaden.
And this is CJA Family Outdoors. Today we're going to be going out for a hike, and we're going to be going over some of the things we did winter camping and some of the things that we shouldn't have done. Stay tuned. And if you are wondering what we're talking about, you can look up here and it will show you the video of our winter camping. So we want to know if you've made any mistakes camping, winter camping, summer camping. We want to know what you may have done and what you could have done differently.
So it's like enter your comments in the comments section below.
Please enter them. We'd like to know. So here on our hike, another adventure here. Maybe we'll come into contact with some deer so we can feed you with that footage. But as we just walk along here and we just think back to the winter camp, there's some things that we could have done differently. The first thing being is when you set up your tent, be sure that you're not setting it up underneath a tree. And if you are setting it up underneath a tree, be sure to give a lay down on the tarp that you put underneath your tent so you can see if there's tree roots there and if they're big enough that you're going to be uncomfortable through the night. Because what we did in our winter camp is I set up right between two beautiful trees, but what we came to realize when sleeping, there were huge tree roots passing through our backs, our sides. Hey, Jaden.
Oh man, one was like going like right down like this here on my back. I had to sleep sideways there to take a comfortable sleep.
So when you're thinking of your comfort, think ahead. All right, just on the other side of this bush, there's a deer straight up ahead. They've taken off there. Dead straight ahead here. Going up the hill now. One's there, one's there. So as the boy and I are hiking along here, we just came up on a super fresh, what is it, Jaden?
Deer poop and pee.
The deer trail we're on. And there's some fresh deer poop right there. Hoping to also get some footage of the deer for you today, as the snow's a lot lighter than it was yesterday. It's actually wet. I think it might have drizzled a little today, so it's not as crunchy and as hard as it was when I was out the other day in this last video up here. Stay tuned. We were talking weeks prior to the winter camp out, and I said to Jaden, I said, no matter if it rains, snows, no matter what the weather is, we're going camping, boy. So with that being said, we went camping, as you know, and you can see in the video. For sleeping bags, his was rated for -25. And again, he had 3 layers of clothes on the bottom and 5 up top. I had my sleeping bag, which was rated for 5 degrees, not -5, 5 degrees. And I only had on a pair of track pants and some Dickies work pants on the bottom and 5 layers up top. So I was nice and toasty up top. But as for the lower half of me, I cannot say that. What we did is we put a tarp underneath the tent, so this way moisture coming out from the ground would have to go through the tarp and then through the tent bottom. But then what I also did as well is I put a tarp on the inside. And then, because it was the last minute, we had planned this, but I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. So stopped at Dollarama and got one of the solar screens for the inside of a windshield. So we got one each. So we had the tarp on the outside, the tarp on the inside of the tent, one of those Mexican blankets from Canadian Tire on under each of us, and then we had the solar windscreen, and then our sleeping bag. So we woke up, there was not a drop of water on the bottom of the tent. As you can see in the video, if you watch that, our winter camping, we did have frost on the inside. So Jaden, when it came to sleeping, how are you?
Well, like we said before, just like the roots, that was just the bad thing about the sleep, but I was really warm. I was nice and warm. I would just get like chills through the night, like just like probably like 30 minutes each time, but I was like really warm.
Nice.
Like extremely warm. I was actually about to it's like to sweat.
So, but we didn't sweat because sweating when winter camping is not good. That can lead to hypothermia. So again, I said we were multiple layers. However, if we would have started to sweat, we would have taken off layers. It's always to come prepared, best to come prepared with more layers than less layers. And as you seen in that video, Grandma was our drop off. She dropped us off where we were stealth camping because it was not a campground, it was just in a local forest. And Grandma was quite worried because she's already had to live through one of my winter camps. Very, very not prepared. And Grandma got us hot paws, which really came in handy. So yeah, we were definitely thanking Grandma through the night. Another point actually you brought up to me, Jaden, when it came to warming your toes up at the fire. What was your mistake?
Okay, so I had like just like rubber under my socks, right? And
Slip grips?
so yeah, so I put my feet at the fire, and then I just touched my socks. I was like, why is it burning so hot? My the rubber burned. It's like underneath my socks, and so one thing, if you have rubber underneath your socks, make sure to take off that pair of socks because you don't want to get burnt.
Take off that pair of socks before warming up those toes so you don't have melted rubber on the hands. So we're gonna head back here and trek along through the woods. Hopefully come up on those deer again for you. And stay tuned, please. So as we're hiking along here, just came up on a pond here, and this is really good fire starter if you run out of newspaper or cotton balls. This is something that you can use to get a fire going. That's a bad piece there, so we'll use the smaller stuff. So if you have a handful of this, this can really help get your fire started. Goes up really, really quickly. And very, very important. If you have a flint and steel, that's great. But to have a lighter, that is key. Very important point that Jaden noted on our walk is
to, when you're making a fire, make sure to have everything set up before you make it, because you don't want to be just like scrambling, trying to get the newspaper as fast as you can, because you're going to grab too much newspaper and eventually the fire's going to die out because you're just putting stuff onto it.
Yeah, because you're smothering the fire. So what happened and why he's bringing that up is he grabbed a whole stack of newspaper, rolled it all up and lit it. And by the time I was finished setting up the tent and I came over to look, and I seen there was only half of the newspaper left, almost burnt up. I said, why'd you do that? And he was just scrambling to get the fire going. So always go slow and steady when you're building your fire. But the most important thing is fire and shelter, because you need shelter to stay warm and dry, and you need a fire to cook your food and to keep you warm throughout the night and keep animals away. Right behind us here, as you can see, we have some bark. Great kindling to start a fire. Use twigs first and then move up into the bark and then into your bigger branches and then logs and so on. But this is also really good to place on the ground, as right now there's snow, so keeps your fire from burning out. And another great way to start a fire is, if you look here, you have this deadfall, and here we have this piece of bark, and underneath the tree are all types of dry sticks. Now, you don't want to start with big sticks like this, or big ones like this. And when you're starting a fire, always be prepared and have your stuff ready to get it going. And one more important thing, make sure that you prioritize water. Water is key to having a great hydrated camp. So make sure that you bring water with you so you can stay hydrated. So we're hiking along and Jada noticed something. What did you notice, boy?
I see some parts of some type of animal on the ground.
So what he acknowledged is it's a rabbit. And we came up on a kill spot here. You can see the blood in there.
You can see the coyote that came through to grab him.
You can see the coyote tracks here. And here's his once bushy tail.
And you can see some blood over there.
So like I said, it's a high coyote populated area where we are camping. And the evidence shows. So someone's legs are getting sore, and they're not mine.
He's lying.
They're this guy's. He said it's time to take a break. So we're here, we're taking a break, and feeding you some more information. So like I said, if you haven't watched our winter camping video, please check it out. What we did have is we had a tent in a tent. So the one tent that we are using doesn't have a bottom. So we first put up our summer tent and then built that tent over top of the summer tent, which gave us extra insulation from the wind, keeping the wind out of the inner lining of the tent that we were sleeping in. If you know summer tents, they got quite the screen on the dome part of the tent. So that's really something you can do if you don't have a winter tent, is put a tent in a tent, or even a tarp over the other tent that you're using. So with that being said, we're gonna rest up here. We're gonna trek back to the car, and I want to get home and have a coffee. And what do you want to have when you get home?
A nice warm hot chocolate.
So with that being said, guys, like we say all the time, all the best, and God bless.